Okay, welcome back. Um, our our next conversation. Sorry. Our next yeah, our next conversation is entitled "Participatory Placemaking: How to Communicate to Make It Happen," and it has been organized by two action members and another guest. The two action members are Matej Niksik, who is an architect and urban designer from the Urban Planning Institute of the Republic of Slovenia, where he is now a senior scientific associate. Matej, unfortunately, is unwell today and won't be able to join physically, although he is, I hope, still in the call. When we wish him a speedy recovery. Conversation will then be led by Carlos Machado Moura, who is an architect, PhD candidate, and integrated researcher at the University of Porto in Portugal. His PhD research is funded by the Portuguese Foundation for Science and Technology, and it focuses on the use of comics and graphic narrative in architectural publications in the 1960s. Last year, he received the very prestigious Premio Tábora Award, which is perhaps one of the most important awards given to architects in Portugal. He will be talking to Damjana Zaviršek Hudnik is a guest, so we want to welcome her and thank her for participating. She's an architect working in her own architectural studio in Ljubljana, in Slovenia. She has been among the initiators of the movement or the initiative called Let's Meet on the Street, where she researches public space and encourages the residents of the Russian Tsar neighborhood of that city to consider the potentials of their public open space and to participate in the process of its restoration and revitalization through spatial interventions. So, well, directly related to our concerns. Well, Matej, tacitly, and Damjana and Carlos, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello, Damjana. Hello, everyone. Well, it's really a pleasure to be here with you, with all of you, and to be able to have this conversation with Damjana. We decided not to share our screens, but to use our virtual backgrounds as a way of going to the Ruski Kar Russian Tsar neighborhood, which is the focus of our discussion. Also, in order not to use the time we have available for this conversation with a thorough presentation of the neighborhood, and giving the fact that in the previous webinar a short video has been a very interesting short video has been broadcasted. I will put on the chat the YouTube link so that if anyone wants to have a look at it in order to have some images to illustrate our conversation, might do it. And I will start naturally by giving the word to Damjana to introduce herself and this project, Let's Meet on the Street, precisely in this very particular neighborhood of Ruski Kar in Ljubljana.
Hello from Ljubljana. As I was introduced before, I'm an architect and I work in my small studio in Ljubljana, but I'm also the local in the neighborhood Ruski Tsar, Russian Tsar. I live there with living away almost all my life. And this neighborhood, when we moved here, I was 3 years old. And the neighborhood had just started to build because it was built in phases. It was built from the 1970 till 1980 at the northern outskirts of Ljubljana, actually at the fields and meadows of the nearby old villages, which still exist, and we include them in our projects. It was designed like the main street between the buildings. It was created like the central public space of the neighborhood. But unfortunately, this, which is, you can see it on the both our backgrounds, but this street has never been finished. This public space has never been finished. So, and this is like a problem that was at the beginning, at the first decades, it was not so obvious because there was a lot of the neighborhood was still building up, and there was a lot of children who were playing on this place, even with no urban furniture and other things that should be in our urban place. But now, when the neighborhood is getting older and needs renovation, this is every year this is a bigger problem, because if you could see this public space is only the roof of the garage, which is underneath, and there are problems with heat hydroisolation and other things that are making this object, which is like an object, which is making it very bad, in a poor shape. And maybe just say this our local initiative was creative, actually established in 2013, at the time when the municipality ordered plans only for the technical renovation of the center of this public space. The plans were made by civil engineers with no discussion with the residents, but on the other hand, also with no discussion with architects or landscape architects who would design the new look of this layer. So at this point, we have realized that the municipality has no real idea what to do with this big public space area, and has really no intentions to invest more money to upgrade this layer used by residents as like modern public space. By starting to work with residents as the civil society, we wanted to give the message to the municipality that it's important to communicate with residents, which are users, but on the other hand, also payers, before making plans for the renovation. But on the other hand, we also believe that the solutions which are developed by architects and landscapes and other people who work on this project will be better if they are developed in participatory process and will be better accepted by residents and users. This is
perfect introduction to which opens already a huge array of issues. One of the things that is very interesting about this neighborhood in particular is the fact that it's not the conventional socialist neighborhood that we are usually see and usually think of when we think of these concrete utopias, but it does have a series of very powerful intentions, some ideas of to rethink the modern movement and the incorporation of spaces like the one we see and we are addressing here, this idea of the central pedestrian street. But what I would like to introduce is the notion that from this, and this it could be, and I'm using one of your terms in our previous conversations, this could be a sort of an unfinished utopia, meaning that the project itself had a strong narrative dimension and an optimistic plan of using this space of a very strong place for sociability between tenants, locals, which somehow, given the fact that the ground floors were never fully used, and there were a series of changes, is now what we see, a poorly used space, a poorly maintained space, and so therefore there's the need of this transformation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like you said, it is unfinished utopia, because it was really very, as an idea, it was very humane, it was very well thought of. They wanted, but when we had one of our events was the James Walk, urban walk through the neighborhood with Vladimir Mušić, who was the architect, the urbanist of this neighborhood, and he told us that this was. The idea of this urbanism was that it would be very, that could change, that the things could change, that it would be very, very adaptable to other, to different situations, so that it could evolve. But well, this could happen here. But on the other hand, when the money is involved, where there is no where the financing of this kind of project in the residential neighborhood is always a problem. If this would be in the city center, where there will be, like you said, there will be some shops and some bars in this area, where this would bring some money to invest it into the renovation of the public space. I think that's the problem in other residential neighborhoods also, because of the one program, only residential program with no other programs which would support it, not only like in program support, but also financial support. And would bring some other vivity in the street. This is also a problem, because when you have mixture of programs, the street is vivid. On the other hand, you need to make some events that the street becomes vivid, I think.
Very much so. And I'd like to focus also on the key aspect of communication, which is the topic of this webinar, and I think that this example brings us to multiple conversations, or to begin with the difficulty of communication, and perhaps the plans of the municipality express very much this sort of a lack of communication, and so how do we talk to stakeholders and public institutions who carry the decisions of physical transformations in the ground, but also the idea of communicating with the residents and giving a voice to the residents and helping them actually to communicate through the series of initiatives that you have carried in the ground, and this Let's Meet on the Street, including giving children a voice. And this is also very interesting, because since this neighborhood was also the setting for a film in 1977, which is translated as "Hang on Doggy" in English, in which I actually saw some excerpts of the film, and we see the children like Indians and how they interact in this public spaces. So I would like to ask you, which different tools do we use for different forms of communication, and perhaps by illustrating the different experiences that took place in this project.
Yes, yes, like I mentioned at the beginning, we realized that at the beginning we realized that we have to communicate with the municipality, but also with the residents, but also with some other groups of residents, like the owners of the garages under the public space, which is one group of interests which is a little bit special. At the beginning, we realized that, but it was very difficult to reach all of them because it's quite a big neighborhood. More than 7,000 people are living there, and it was very difficult to communicate, how to communicate with them. And at the beginning, we started the communication with the residents by organizing, like I said, this urban walk, which is international event. But you see, if in the neighborhood where there is 7,000 people living, you could have a success. It is a success if I don't know, 50 people is joining to this event. But you know, as I noticed after, it goes from if it is interesting in the neighborhood, it goes from mouth to mouth between the residents. So at first we organized this kind of things to interest children, because in this neighborhood there is a lot of families living, and if the children come to the event, usually parents follow them, and this becomes a greater group. So we had some so we organized some meetings for children and asked them what they see it could be on this public area. It was very interesting event. Afterwards, we organized the open air cinema, and because you just mentioned this film Sreća na vrvici, like happiness on the rope, on the leash. We organized the projection of this movie, and it was really a great success. You can see this is from and this event becomes every year. Every year we organize 2 times this kind of events. On the other hand, we wanted to show the residents that it is that living in this neighborhood, even though it has to be renovated, it is very good because it's near the nature, near the villages where the local food is produced, and we did some projects to connect all these places in the neighborhood. We call it Pod do Brod, the path of goods, because they go on the walk and then they buy the foods to cook, and some other events, also round tables about the renovation where we invited the other author of the neighborhood, the other architect, Mariam Bejan, and it was very, very interesting. I think the most difficult was to communicate with the municipality, because they showed like an interest, but nothing happens. They say about the ownership. It is the unsolved ownership of this public area, because these things in Slovenia are still not very well done, because you know, the relations between the ownership of these parts near the buildings and the other area is not solved yet, and nothing happens. It is very, very difficult to communicate with the municipality. But on the other hand, the last few years we have the vice mayor, who is architect, and he understands those problems, and the things are moving ahead, but very, very slowly.
Well, it's good that that it's moving in the good direction.
Yes.
Well, we're actually running out of time of this conversation, but it pretty much covered all the aspects of this project. So thank you very much. I really think that this this idea of having all these small events not only demonstrated through communication that this roof, this public space, is more than just a car park left to its existence, but also, as you very much underlined in your statement, that all these communication events allowed school children to become active citizens in the future. So thank you very much, and thank you all. Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you very much, both of you, or all three of you actually, because I hope Matei is here with us, and I'm
indeed
how much he helped prepare this conversation. Very interesting. Aside from introducing like inter-institutional communication, institutions even including the family as an institution, it also introduces intergenerational communication and a modality that might be very, very powerful to start thinking about, which is what was referred to as mouth to mouth. No, everybody knows what that is, but usually we don't consider it as a form of, let's say, valid academic communication. And according to what we heard earlier, it might be very interesting. So thank you both very much. Thank you, Matei. I see he put something on the chat box. So thank you very much. Well, we move on then. Our next conversation entitled Appropriation